Okay, there's a trigger warning for this episode because we talk about rape. Hello and welcome to Talk 90s to Me, where we have exciting news. Oh, yes, we do. If you love the podcast, you can now support us on Patreon. Told you it was exciting. Back us for as little as £3 a month, and you can get amazing merchandise. It is amazing. It's like mugs and T-shirts, and we've got a bucket hat. We've got quite a lot of good things. Extra podcasts and more, plus the unbeatable feeling of helping your favourite podcast to keep going. Interested? Follow the link in the show notes or search Patreon Talk 90s to Me. We will love you for it. Of course we will. Okay, let's get on with the show. Today, welcome to Talk 90s to Me, where we like to plan a girls' fishing holiday before getting drunk in a honky-tonk bar, shooting dead a sexual predator, then shagging Brad Pitt, robbing a convenience store, locking a policeman in his car boot, blowing up a truck, driving through Utah in a green Ford Thunderbird, and feeling awake. Yes, this week we are talking the genuinely iconic film Thelma and Louise, one of my all-time favourites, and I am very happy to be discussing it with comedy writer of Geek Girl and Fully Blown. It's Sarah Morgan. Hello, Sarah.
Hello, Miranda.
Well, you are excited also to be talking Thelma and Louise,
God, yes.
because I know you love it as much as I do. You put me onto this really brilliant book, which we can wave about in front of the camera. It's called Off the Cliff, and it's by Becky Aikman, and it's basically a kind of interview with all the characters involved in Thelma Louise. It's completely great. Yes. I had a copy, gave it to somebody, lent it, they never gave it back. Mine is now, kind of coming to me via the post. It takes quite a long time. And you did the same, didn't you?
I did exactly the same. So I think I got it in a charity shop, maybe 2 years ago, something like that, and ate it immediately because I've always loved Thelma Louise. I have a lifelong love of Thelma Louise.
So look, came out in 91. Mm-hmm. Can you remember first seeing it?
Yes. So
where did you see it?
I was born in 1980. So I was only a little when it came out. I was on holiday, and it wasn't a Centre Parks. I was on holiday with Mum, and it wasn't Centre Parks, and I think it was like a sort of Centre Parks-esque type thing. The main thing, Butlins, sort of maybe something like that. But the main thing was the chalets had a telly station, and the telly station would show the same two films on rotation over and over again. I didn't want to do any swimming or any reading. I just wanted to watch the same two films over and again. One of them was Crybaby by John Waters, life-changing. And the other one was Thelma and Louise. And I watched that with my mum. And I would think I must have been 12, maybe. It had only been out not that long. And my main takeaway of it was her covering my eyes during that bit.
Which bit, though? I'm going to ask you. Was it the shooting bit or was it the Brad Pitt bit?
Oh no, that bit was fine. No. It was the horrible rape scene. Yeah, she covered my eyes, and I don't think I've probably seen the film at least 100 times since then. I'm absolutely obsessed by it, but I don't think I have ever seen that scene properly until maybe in the last 10 years or so. I've always covered my own eyes. I've always put my mum's hand over my eyes, and I've got a 12-year-old, and when I show it to her, I'll probably put my hand over her eyes. But yeah.
It's an upsetting
scene.
What
I was imagining was probably worse than what's on screen, but it's the same with Poltergeist. I never saw the ghost at the end of Poltergeist. It's about 3 years.
It's too much.
Yeah.
So it is a great film. I remember going to see it. I saw it so I'm older than you, and I saw it in London. I went to a cinema to see it, and I came out, and one of what I thought when I came out was, and I really specifically remember this, I'm never going to hand my life over to a bloke. Ever. Because what it shows you is that, there are two main characters. Most people know Thelma and Louise, but I will do a really short recap. So there are two main characters. There's Louise, who's played by Susan Sarandon, and there is Thelma, who is played by Geena Davis. They're both meant to be in their early 30s. Interestingly, Susan Sarandon is actually 10 years older than that.
Never happens. Playing
a
woman
playing younger.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But basically, they are living their lives. Their lives are okay, but they are slightly restricted, not completely, by men, affected by men. So Thelma is married to an absolute jerk, really, who won't let her do anything. So she leaves without telling him and just leaves him a note to go on this fishing holiday with her friend Louise. Louise is much more independent, but she has a boyfriend who's a musician who's away and hasn't really got in contact with her.
She's very haunted by her own stuff that's gone on in the past.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
She's very, yes.
So she is haunted by essentially a sexual assault that happened to her a long, long time ago, as we find out. They go on this holiday. The holiday starts off, you're very immediately engaged with them because it's so well written. The holiday starts off okay, and then essentially they go to a honky-tonk bar, they get drunk, this guy sexually assaults, tries to rape Thelma, and Louise shoots him, and then that's it, we're off. We're on a kind of crime spree. The reason why I came away thinking I'm never going to let men restrict me again is the arc of their story is they become more and more free as they become more and more, I suppose, liberated from what they're meant to do as women. And the other thing that's really exciting about the film, there's many things that's really exciting about the film, is that they are the two main characters. They have all the development. Every man that's involved actually is just in service to them. And that just never happens.
The men are archetypes,
That never happens. And it's still, interestingly, it doesn't really happen now. But the men are quite often comic, ridiculous, kind of embarrassing.
Both. Evil and ridiculous at the same time. Yeah.
So, and they gradually get more and more revenge. And then at the end, there's a kind of quite a controversial ending, which we will talk about, where they kind of can't go back to what they were before. But I came out and I felt full of that sense of, I'm not going to mold my life to a man's. This is going to be my life, which was quite. And the other thing that happened, which I only thought about when I was remembering this film, is the important thing is they're in a car.
Yes.
They're in a car, which is a beautiful car, 1966 Ford Thunderbird. It's a soft top, it's green. They're traveling across America. It's absolutely epic. I spent quite a lot of my 20s in a soft top car.
Oh, really?
Driving around. Like, whenever anything went wrong, I just go off in the soft top car. I did various ones. Driving around. I mean, it wasn't America, it was France. But it was the same thing. It was just me driving just pretending to be Thelma. So I think it really had
the call of the wild. I think everyone who was moved by that film went on adventures, and you hoped that you had a great friend to do them with. But if not, then you were your own friend, weren't you? And went on those adventures. Yeah, I mean, God, it's so hard to even know where to start. We're talking about it, but what's so amazing about it, one of the reasons why it works as just a good film, nothing to do with being a feminist film or a film about women or anything like that, is it's directed by Ridley Scott, who didn't want to direct it and came on as a producer. Callie Curry, let's start with Callie Curry.
Yeah, let's
Callie Curry wrote the script. She was a waitress. She then went on to work in the music video industry. She did those kind of video vixen, White Snake, Poison.
She did Alice Cooper, didn't she?
Alice Cooper, those kind of videos. It sounds like a very dodgy time to be a woman working in those. And she hated it. And she was living in LA, and she sat down and she wrote the script. And she literally just did that thing that all screenwriters are meant to do, which is that you write the film you want to see.
Yeah.
And she didn't know enough about the rules to know that that two women is box office poison, and you don't. And if someone says change the ending, you change the ending, and all that. She didn't know any of that stuff. She wrote this amazing script. When you read it, it's so. I mean, she'd obviously picked up some script books and just sort of figured it out, and didn't know enough about it. And she's, no, you're not wanting to write this. Ridley Scott got hold of it. Everyone in Hollywood loved it and didn't want to touch it. Ridley Scott got hold of it. He wanted to just produce it. He had absolutely no interest in directing the film. And what I love about the whole Ridley Scott thing is that sometimes allyship comes from just being like into your own stuff and being good at your job and knowing who you are. And it's got nothing to do with like performative, like, I'm going to make a film for the ladies now. Yeah. Ridley Scott just loved making a certain kind of film. And when that script landed in his lap, there's a line in the book that is brilliant. It said it made him laugh and it made him see pictures.
Yeah.
And he basically just, he read this book that was basically a kind of road trip, like a Western, a buddy movie. And he's this nerd from up north. Yeah. I say that with love. But he just kind of saw in his head this amazing sort of funny, oh my God, it's funny.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, what's really interesting, there's so many things that are interesting about it. And I do think, obviously, Callie Curry, who's the writer, is kind of amazing for writing it in the first place. And she doesn't know anything. So she writes it in longhand and then types it up. She does it in between her jobs. And she bases it on her and a friend, which is really amazing. So she is essentially the Louise character, and her friend, who is a singer, is a kind of ditzy character. And they get themselves in various positions as well. There's a certain point where they're in a car park and someone tries to mug them, and she won't let go of her handbag. And her friend is like, just let go of the handbag. You let go of the handbag. And she said later that she realised if she had a gun, she would have shot that guy. And so that also obviously goes into the character of Louise, who shoots Harlan, who is trying to basically rape her friend Thelma. And she doesn't shoot him while it happens. It stops because she's got a gun. Yeah. She walks off. And then he basically calls her a bitch and, says, suck my dick. And she kind of wants to hit him, but ends up shooting him. So it's like it's an interesting, because it's not just I'm going to blow you away. There's a lot of things going on.
There's so many. It's really interesting because there's so many films that are, horror films, if you're a horror fan, that are rape revenge fantasies. And Susan Sarandon says she never wanted to be in a rape revenge fantasy. The Last House on the Left, or I Spit on Your Grave, and all these films like that. It wasn't groundbreaking that it was a rape revenge film. The fact is, it wasn't a fantasy. This is a woman, the way it's played and the way it's written, this is a woman who makes a terrible split-second mistake because she's so haunted by this terrible thing that happened to her in her past. And so she's sort of, in that moment, it's as I say, can happen to anyone. You absolutely understand how she got there, and you absolutely understand the power of it not happening in the moment, but 2 seconds later.
Yeah, that she's not a vigilante.
She's not a vigilante, and she's not gleeful. And there's such a huge chunk of the film afterwards that is them sitting in their pain and their misery and their torment. And Geena Davis hysterically crying in a car, and Susan Sarandon throwing up. And I mean, there's so many. I mean, what's brilliant about it, the details are so believable. You love these characters so much. Susan Sarandon is the world's leading expert on sexy unraveling. And she starts off really prim and proper in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, in The Hunger, in Bull Durham, she's done so many films where she starts out with her hair all
tied up,
stapled in, and very, very tight lip line, and and she slowly and erotically unravels, as I can describe it. And in this film, she's just, that it's kind of like her built-in IP is that she's so smart and so sensual behind the eyes, and everything is just this steely gaze until she comes apart. But you have to go on that journey. She's uptight. She wants to rescue her friend from her shit husband. She kills a man
who is a
shitbag in a different way, a different kind of shitbag. And then she has to ask a man for help, her boyfriend. So, the whole Act 2 chunks around them getting her money, borrowing some money from her boyfriend, who's we know to be a kind of vagabond shitbag.
Yeah. At the beginning, when Callie gets the script, she takes it to Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott spends quite a lot of time selling to other people, but they get this feedback. I've written some of this feedback. Oh my God, it's unbelievable.
Two bitches in a car.
That's one thing. Yeah. Why would anyone be interested in two bitches in a car? That's one thing. Okay, there's another one it's small. And Ridley Scott's going
picture.
Yeah, no, it's epic. It's an absolute epic. There's another one where
he wants to get Tony Scott, his brother, to do it. And Tony Scott, right. I think, had done at the time. Oh God, I can't remember. He'd done sort of more commercial kind of things, and he was bought, and they said he was going to end up being called Tits and Bullets.
What a great name for a film.
I would go and see Two Bitches in a Car, and I would go and see Tits and Bullets.
Absolutely.
So I'm just saying.
Oh my God.
Yeah, not the film that Callie Curry was writing.
Oh yeah, another producer said the women are basically detestable and unsympathetic, and they will never get the audience's support. No. I mean, it's just astonishing. Yeah. So he is Ridley Scott is kind of shopping around as a producer, to other directors, getting all this feedback. And what he finds is that he's arguing for the film, and essentially he talks himself into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's like, okay, this isn't about two bitches in a car, man. This is a really brilliant script. It's epic, and I can make it epic, and I'm going to direct it. And it wasn't a choice that you would have expected, because he was seen to be, I suppose, quite, and still is actually, a slightly macho director.
Well, it's really interesting because he absolutely, he's a very macho director. But people forget he did Alien, which took all the action hero tropes and then replaced the characters. So the original script for Alien, all the characters are their gender is never specified. I think they're called unisex in that in the original script, Dan O'Bannon script, and it was basically a sort of decision. Let's make Ripley a woman, and they didn't change a single line in the script, and they cast Sigourney Weaver. Now there's a version of that where that's like the most feminist badass thing ever. There's another version where you say, well, he made a horror film, and of course she's a final girl. Depends if you think Alien is a horror film or a sci-fi film.
It's just her being brilliant.
Different podcast. But whatever, he made this amazing, strong female lead in a. So the idea that he was like this not feminist and not a gruff action guy, and he was, and he was all of the things, but also he was a nerd who wanted to make a film that was like epic and a road trip, and he wanted dust bowls and oil derricks and crop dusters and freeways and all the Americana that he fetishized, stuff that he said American filmmakers found boring because they were used to seeing them. He just thought they were sexy as hell. And all his films are about textures and surfaces and, glittering things in the background. And him, I mean, the whole thing of him being this cigar chomping bro, which he was and is, because he also liked to get his cigar and blow it in front of the camera, so that everything would look hazy and American
like
and smoky, like Vaseline on the lens, and everything's backlit with cigar smoke in front. His cigar smoke, because he's a camera op as well. Yeah. His cigar smoke in front of the camera. So it's like he's not making a girl's film. He's making really the best film he wants to make.
Because it's interesting, because I think that point about him being basically English and understanding the mad appeal of America, and all that, like the DOP was British. A lot of the people involved were British. And I think you're right. They're like, you and I, we go to America and we're like, oh my God, this is Utah. This is fantastic. I've never seen anything like it. Oh my goodness. Whereas I think if you're in America, you're like, it's a really long way to go and get a drink. And like that part, that landscape is really, really important. The opening shot is you see it
goes black and white to colour. It's very Wizard of Oz.
Exactly, like Wizard of Oz, but it's like a big long landscape of a road, isn't it? Like that's kind of part of the road. And then being in the car as well gives that you could call it a third space, a car, couldn't you? But it's like something else that gives it. They have the power to travel. They have like everything with them. That gives it's almost like everyone always says it's another character. It's not really another character. It's like another propulsion.
Thelma says at the beginning she's never left the city that they live in for, and I don't know if they ever specify the name of the city, but she's never been.
It's in Arkansas somewhere.
Yeah, she's never been out of the state before. So we're seeing it all through her eyes, like goggling. Like, look at these. Ridley Scott's got such a capacity for finding beautiful, strange people to just put in the background, and you're like, why is this beautiful, toothless old man there?
Yeah, that I'm going to get hat off.
Why is there a bodybuilder all covered like in a gas station? Because beautiful in texture. That's why. Yeah. I love this. I was watching the DVD extras earlier, and Ridley Scott's going about the Oklahoma flatlands. I just wanted to make something about the Oklahoma flatlands. My mum's from Hull. I'm allowed to do that accent.
That's fine. It's completely fine.
Oklahoma flatlands. Every time I watch that film.
There's an interesting thing that I think is in the book as well, which is about the casting. So the casting, obviously now we know that it's Susan Sarandon and Geena Davis. It can't be anybody else. And we also know another main character, which is Brad Pitt. The first time any of us saw Brad Pitt.
Little ingenue called Bradley Pitt.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Is he attractive?
Did you notice?
It's always something for everyone and a lid for every pot.
They really were. So like initially, when Callie wrote it, she was writing it for Frances McDormand and Holly Hunter.
Yes, which would have been amazing.
Would have been amazing. But that's who she had in her mind. Then it was cast with Michelle Pfeiffer and Jodie Foster.
Yeah.
Which I think is okay. I think that could have worked also. But then they were incredibly famous. They got other work. That wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, because they couldn't find a director, because no one really didn't want anyone else to direct it except himself, but it took him a little while to get there.
Exactly. So they got other jobs.
And it was Meryl Streep, wasn't it, who said to him...
Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn.
Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn, who then made on Death Becomes Her. So that's fine by me.
It's fine, but Meryl wanted to change the ending.
Yes.
I think, incorrect. So what she actually wanted to happen was when the car goes off the edge, she wanted Louise to push Thelma to safety, which would have been, I'm sorry, wrong. So that didn't happen. And then basically Geena Davis really wanted it. She kept phoning up every week. She got her agent to phone up. She thought she was going to be Louise. She prepped for Louise, went in and then did a great Louise reading. But then Ridley Scott said, so what about Thelma? And she kind of went, yes, absolutely. I've always thought I would be a great Thelma.
I think she was Academy Award nominated supporting actress, but like sort of her background was like Earth Girls Are Easy, The Fly. She was odd. She was a kooky choice. She wasn't Michelle Pfeiffer at all. So I can see why it was a hard cast. And she was on casting list, but misspelt Gina.
Yeah, that's so funny. So she was, and then eventually she got it. She got it, and then they brought Susan Sarandon, brilliant. But the role of JD, which Brad Pitt did eventually get, was not cast until the Saturday before the filming, and Ridley Scott wanted Billy Baldwin, which sounds a bit weird. I have interviewed Billy Baldwin, I have to say, lovely guy, absolutely bananas. But anyway, his look at the time actually, I don't think would have worked because his look was actually very similar to Michael Madsen, who'd already been cast. So it would have been a bit like they had the same boyfriend. Dark hair.
A lot of Elvis-y looking men, as was the style at the time in the 90s. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
A lot of Elvis-y looking boys,
And so he went off and did something else. George Clooney went for it 5 times. He read for it. And
the plane story.
What was that?
Geena Davis is on a plane 30 years after. And George Clooney sits down next to her and goes, so I'm just so pissed off with... And they're chatting like movie star chatting, we're just famous people who talk to each other. And he's on, I'm so pissed off with Brad. And she's like, I thought you guys were friends. And she's like, I know, but I wanted that role in that movie. And she went, you auditioned for that movie? She didn't remember him because she was so obsessed by Brad Pitt.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So Mark Ruffalo auditions, everybody auditions, right? So many people. And they get it down to 4. And one of them is Brad Pitt. And they do the audition. And Geena Davis is so flustered by the beauty of Brad Pitt that she kind of messes up the audition because she's just a bit like, oh my God, this guy. And then afterwards they're discussing it. And Ridley Scott and the producer are kind of going, well, what about this guy? And she's going, can I just say something? And they go, what? And she's going, are you mad? It's the blonde.
It is the blonde. The blonde.
And so he gets the part.
I want the pretty thing. Get it for me. Buy it for me, daddy.
Yeah, exactly. He's paid $6,000.
Perfect.
Yeah, I love it.
It's like a 4-day shoot or something. It's insane. Yeah.
It's insane. But also, that is a hard launch of Brad Pitt. But by the end of that decade, he's doing Fight Club.
Well, it is harrowing that he is the one who probably did best out of it.
Yeah, we can talk about
Hollywood is awful. What I think the appeal is that Geena Davis got, is that he was the only one who played it with manners. Yeah. He played it like a good, well-bred Southern boy. And he's so polite. He's not sleazy. He's not Elvis. The Elvisification of men in the 90s is so odd. Yeah.
He's really polite.
He's polite. He's calling him ma'am, and he's tipping his hat, and he's just so. And I think it would never occur to Ridley Scott that manners are sexy.
Yeah, but also what's interesting is in that. So his character is JD. He's literally a hitchhiker, and then he basically gives Thelma, a character, an absolutely brilliant night.
The hair.
The hair is just amazing. So she basically has an absolutely brilliant wild night of lust, and then he robs them. So he's simulataneously a goodie and a baddie.
Thanks for accelerating the plot there, JD. Lovely bit of...
You did really well.
Yes, well done, Bradley, with your beautiful... He's built like a snake. He's sort of V-shaped.
But he's also... The way... I think Ridley Scott, who was obviously... understands beauty, the way he shoots him is unbelievable. So it's all backlit, and literally Ridley Scott himself was spraying him down to make him all glistening.
And it's all POV. There's so much POV in there. He literally. Apparently there's this massive uncut this sex scene that everyone who watched the film has seen that they had to take out because it was too distracting,
too hot,
and it's never been released. And never. But and he's got his. Can I use the phrase cum gutters? On a podcast. He's got them.
There's little muscly bits that go down.
I think that was the first time people in the night, because men, men were objectified like that, but to be objectified by the most beautiful director in the world, the director who's going to make everything look like you would look at Athena, he's
like an Athena poster. You're right. He's like an Athena poster come to life. But what's really... obviously he's then, hard launched as the most beautiful man in the world, but also his character obviously knocks everything on because he nicks money, so they have fewer options, but also he's funny. So there is a point where later on he encounters Thelma's husband, and he has a line which is, "I like your wife," and then he does a kind of like shagging movement, which is all him.
Yeah, it's all improv. I mean, the improv of the men in the film is a whole chapter in the book that is absolutely hilarious, and it's that because they shoot what they call the girls first. So the film is basically almost shot entirely in sequence, which is mad for a film. Like, never happens. But just is their friendship. It plays out so perfectly. But so they shoot the girls, and then they go off and they do all the stuff in Daryl's house with him standing in the pizza.
And that's Thelma's
husband, who played by Geena Davis's ex-boyfriend.
And he's great. He's so
Chris
funny.
McDonald, I think his name is.
And he's so funny.
So she suggests him, knowing that they'd have good chemistry, and also that he's really funny and happy to improv. And Harvey Keitel is like this sort of bull who wants to improv everything.
And he is, so Harvey Keitel is the one kind of good guy.
Yeah, so he's the super cop who sort of, he works out what's happened very early doors, that these two women, there's been an assault in the car park by this clearly unsavoury character. They've shot him and they've fled. But he's pieced it together quite quickly, but also knows, but I just have to say, Callie Curry writes waitresses so well because she was one. So there's so many amazing waitresses in it. And the reason why Harvey Keitel's character Hal is onto it so quickly is because he talks to the waitress who was serving them, and then she gives them all this intel in a way that a cop wouldn't normally talk to a waitress like that. They have this like fun bit of banter. Anyway, I just have to say that. I love the way she writes waitresses. So he's the cop who's investigating. He's onto them so early doors, and he just keeps telling them to come back, probably because in his head he thinks it can be saved. Obviously, they say very early on in the script, we can't go back. If we go back, they'll say, you led him on. Yeah, you were drunk. You went out to the car park with him. Yeah, you were walking away, all this stuff. They know that they're fucked because they're women who live in the world. And it's Harvey Keitel is a well-intentioned but probably wrong character in this. Yeah, and also he's basically playing, it's interesting, his character is interesting because obviously it's slightly against type because it's Harvey Keitel. So he's playing the good guy. Yeah. But what I really like about the script is he's not actually allowed to rescue them. Like he can't, like that is not allowed. And I think in other scripts, he would be allowed to rescue who he calls the girls. Yeah. Like he would be allowed to rescue them and kind of save them from whatever, save them from jail or the electric chair or whatever, because he's a good guy and he would have swept them up. It's interesting though, when you started talking about the improv, because he really pushed for more and more and more screen time, didn't he? Yeah. And there's a whole bunch of stuff with his wife, who was played by Catherine Keener, amazingly enough, who was just cut. Because also, why are we cutting away from our heroes to see a man's domestic life? We just don't need that. And his character is, he's you could say at the end when he chases after the car, him getting between the car and the cops stops them being shot. They still, spoiler, I don't think it's a spoiler, I'd say, they still die, but they die on their own terms. And he's almost, that's the only intervention he can give. But it's really, all the men who are brought on to be in the film, they're all playing like these basically like stereotypes of men, archetypes of men. There's a twink, there's the good guy, there's the shit husband, there's the rapist. They're all, and they, all of them coming into this brave new world of like a film where the women are the main characters, all try and like bring their own thing. Like everyone's bringing their A game. Everyone's bringing something different. Like the guy who plays Daryl turned up to the audition in like a polyester suit with like that #1 gold chain that he wears in the film. Like he wore that to his audition. I mean, they know it's a great script, but they can't quite believe that if they bring their A game, they're still not going to be that important. Yeah. No, and they all think, I'm going to save this film. Yeah. They've got that kind of vibe of like, but it's great because they're all pushing so hard. Yeah. I mean, the Michael Madsen scene with Susan Sarandon in the hotel. Yeah, so that's her boyfriend, basically, who comes to give her the money to help her out. She asked Jimmy to mail her the money, to wire the money, and instead he turns up with it all in a big envelope for her because he's a good guy and he's going to rescue her, and she is running away from him, and he turns up with a ring as well. Yeah, he turns up with a ring. So basically, she's always complained that he's a terrible boyfriend, and then suddenly he shows up with a ring and a bag of money because she's leaving him, and he knows, and he's trying to like persuade her to, he knows she's going, and men and their possessions, whatever. And but they were supposed to have sex, and Susan Sarandon really pushed hard to not have that be a sex scene because it would be too hard for her character to have gone from shooting a man to leaving a man to we're now going to go, we're going to go to Mexico and drink margaritas by the sea, Mamacita, and the idea of like that then being But we'll have sex one last time. She might have done, she might not have done, but we don't even need to see it. We see him with his top off later. And we can kind of suggest that we don't need a kind of earth-shaking sex scene, particularly when there's one going on 2 doors down.
Yeah, exactly. Please don't distract from Geena and
we
Brad.
don't need to cut between 2 sex scenes. It was really smart for her to push it. But Michael Madsen, sort of almost like, well, what am I doing here then? Starts doing all this like improv and they work out the scene between them. And he's the one who flips over the table and gets really angry because in his mind, that's what a guy does in these scenes. Yeah. And it's really interesting because all Susan Sarandon does is shuts down. As a woman who's been through her terrible experiences, she's so in character. And she stands there and she's just, there's nothing. She's dead behind the eyes while he's doing all this acting and flipping tables and saying stuff. And he goes really quiet. And that whole scene is just kind of them improving. And then he just sort of pulls the ring out and he goes, "I'm going to buy you a ring, I'm sorry." And it's like, it's so real.
Yeah, it's very good.
Callie Curry wrote it as this big proposal scene where she was like, I just want Susan to have a nice time in this scene. And I'm not saying she's right or wrong, but she wrote it to be like a lovely moment. And actually it's painful. It's a painful breakup.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. Thelma learns from being robbed by JD how to hold up a convenience store, which she then does. She becomes less of a child. She's like a child at the beginning, and she steps into being a more powerful woman. They get more and more powerful as they go along, and
they swap roles as they and then eventually become the same person. It's gorgeous. There's a denim shirt that Susan just keeps tearing bits off.
Susan. Tying a bit around.
I keep saying Susan.
Yeah, tying around here.
Sorry, she tears a bit off the shirt and then dips it in water. Ridley Scott's obsessed with water. There's so much water in this film, and he just loves it because it glitters, I think. But anyway, they're always tight. Yeah, and they're wearing bits of each other's clothes by the end.
Yeah.
Such good wardrobe design, everything.
Yeah, everything's really brilliant. But they get more, it accelerates more and more. But there are, and the comedy gets kind of, I would say, kind of broader as the male characters get more kind of stereotypes. But there are some seminal kind of moments that replay in women's minds, I would say. And that is, there's one where they're driving through the night. They've just got away with kind of robbing a convenience store. They've nearly been caught by the police. And they're driving through the night through this amazing Utah countryside, which is just these mad rocks.
Oklahoma flatlands.
And they're playing a particular song which goes at the age of 47.
Ballad of Lucy Jordan.
Yeah, amazing. And it's very, very moving. And Thelma says a couple of things. One of the things she says, she's like, something's crossed over in me and I can't go back. And the other one is, she says, I feel awake.
I'm awake.
I feel awake. Do you feel awake? And she feels awake. And those two bits were the bits that I really responded to. I was like, okay, I don't want to have a kind of sleepy, unawake life. I want to be able to feel like I'm, in the moment. I mean, they're obviously in an amazing landscape, but that you're in your own life and you're in it. You're not just letting your life, kind of wash you along. And those two moments are incredibly important. They're almost like the most important part of the film.
Absolutely. Well, that's why it needs to be a comedy, and it needs to have big action set pieces and exploding trucks and all that kind of stuff. So those quiet moments are not just shared with the small audience of indie women who go and see indie women's films. It's like you need those lines need to land.
Yeah.
By making it as entertaining and layered and nuanced as possible. And this,
it's also making it. It's making it into Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Yes, exactly.
Because they are criminals, fit criminals. I mean, basically, they look great. They look great all the way through. Kind of breaking hearts simply by being themselves. Going through, and then eventually the authorities line up so much that they have to go down fighting. I mean, it's literally Butch Cassidy.
Well, it's a combination of there are terrible things happening to them, and them then doing terrible things to make up for it. Like they're robbed, so they rob a liquor store. The truck driver seems to have followed them the whole of their trail as they drive to Mexico. He's constantly leaning out of his window and making sexual advances at them. Apparently Ridley Scott didn't believe that actually happened to women, and all the women had to gather around
and go, God, my eyes have rolled so far back, I can't see.
Exactly. It's like, I don't believe that a man would lean out of a truck window and make obscene gestures and point at his lap and at women. It's like, dude.
Yeah, sorry.
So once the women had said that happens all the time, mate, and this bit is wish. There's the wish fulfillment fantasy. They lure him off off the side of the road and ask him to apologise. He refuses, and so they blow up his truck full of fuel, and you get a beautiful explosion. You get helicopters flying through the clouds. And everyone's happy. And it's absolutely gorgeous. Completely unnecessary to their redemption. It's probably what gets them caught and killed, but they don't care because in that moment they are living out all the fantasy we've ever had about like destroying a man's life because he's
so horrible
because he's called himself the Pussy King
literally
or whatever.
Blowing up. It's really funny because the guy who played that part was a bit worried because it's obviously a completely revolting part and he plays it very cartoony. But then he was really worried about it. But apparently he then just went on to do Hamlet in Orlando.
Yeah, he's like a proper Shakespearean actor. Yeah, and,
there was no problem.
And God bless him. Yes, and you'd never recognise him in a million years.
No, not at all.
And I love that his trucker hat came from Ridley Scott was doing a recce and he saw an old woman wearing that hat and he bought the hat off her. So it's like, you know, normally on films you'd have like 5 hats. Yeah. But they're all identical. There was one hat that Geena Davis swoops off the ground as his truck explodes.
Oh, it's so good.
Pops it on her head and it's like she has now become the patriarchy or whatever.
Yeah. She's amazing.
Whatever you want to do with that metaphor.
I think we should talk about the ending and then we should talk about how the film landed. So the ending is essentially, I'm sorry for all these spoilers, but really, if you haven't watched Thelma Louise...
This would be a really weird podcast to listen to, watch, whatever, if you hadn't seen Thelma Louise.
Yeah, I mean, I just think you're a bit mad.
That sounds good. Cum gutters, you say.
Yeah. This sounds fun.
And there's some waitresses. Oh, it sounds really interesting.
Yeah, 2 bitches in a car. Fabulous.
Tits and bullets. Yeah.
But at the end, they decide that they don't want to be caught by the police. They clearly don't want to be shot by the police, so they drive off the cliff, right? It was a difficult scene for a lot of people. It was a difficult scene when they were trying to make the film. People were like, but we don't want our heroines to die if they followed them. And it was a difficult scene to actually shoot as well, wasn't it?
Well, it's really, you know, I will be completely hand on heart honest. I saw it when I was a child, and then every time I saw it, I went through a real chunk of my life thinking, I don't like the ending. I wish they didn't have to die. I wish they had a Blues Brothers ending where they went to prison.
Where they win.
Where they win and they go to prison and they're like the coolest chicks in prison. And it's only... having read that book and having watched it 400,000 times, and you realise they are absolutely in charge of their own destiny all the way through it, including they've got, you know, hundreds of police cars chasing down on them. And Harvey Keitel's character, who's there basically to be Mr. Exposition throughout the whole film, telling you what the stakes are constantly, really does a perfect, great job at it. He says, like, you know, someone's going to get trigger happy, someone's going to shoot them. He's constantly telling all these FBI guys with guns, you know, someone's going to go crazy, someone's going to shoot a shot. We know they're going to die. There is absolutely no version of this where they put their hands up and get arrested. Someone is going to shoot. So the choice that they make to do this on their terms, to just keep going, as they say, they're on the edge of the Grand Canyon, and they say they just keep going. And then everyone involved basically made it so that the car flies. And then they edited it like 6 million different ways and tried it with different test audiences, and people hated it, people loved it. The car flies. The car flies off the cliff. The cover of the book is the car flying off the cliff. Yeah. Which is impossible. It's on a ramp, and now I realise that it's the same ending as Grease. It's a flying
they go up in the air.
car.
That's so funny.
There's only
and
one
Sid
other
and
film.
Nancy.
Yeah, there's only there's only films that end with a flying car.
Yeah.
You know, they're
and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
And Chitty Chitty. Oh my God, there's so many flying car films. I mean, it's but it's if you can view it as a metaphor, and God knows there's so many metaphors in this film already. They're ascending. There's so many moments where people are cleaned with water, and the hot pavements are splashed with water, and there's you know, it's all
said. Callie Curry said about it. They flew away out of this world and into the mass unconscious. Women who are completely free from all the shackles that restrain them have no place in this world. The world is not big enough to support them. Yeah. How amazing is that? After all they went through, I didn't want anybody to be able to touch them.
I think that's perfect, and it makes so much sense, and it does. It's a hard thing because we now have so many films where sexual violence is the only bad thing that could ever happen to a woman and is used as a plot device and all that kind of stuff. And women having to die rather than thinking of an ending for them. I mean, I can think of 10 films I've seen where it's like the woman dies because no one knows how to write an ending. But they all came after, weirdly. And, this is absolutely like a happy ending.
It really is, completely.
Yeah. As she said when she won the Oscar for... Best Screen, literally her first film, and she wins the Best Screenwriting Oscar. And she said, people who wanted a happy ending for Thelma Louise, this is it.
Yeah, quite right.
What a speech!
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
So look, the film comes out, you see it in Butlins.
I see it in Butlins. I think it was, but I couldn't say, it probably wasn't even Butlins, it was like a knockoff Butlins, but yes. Yeah.
And I saw it in the West End somewhere. It affected loads and loads and loads of people. But it was slightly, it was obviously going to be a good film, but they had loads of money problems because basically the guy who was giving them money was really dodgy and actually ended up going to like 4 years in prison. Anyway, so they don't have much budget to market it, and it was actually made for them for like not very much money. So it's made for $17 million, which at the time is not very much. And when they've got to kind of market it, they literally have like 40% of what the money that they'd hoped. So they market it, but not loads. Anyway, it lands, it blows up like a bomb, mostly because of the critics. Yeah. Because the critics really, really don't like it. They're really upset by it in a way that I kind of think you watching it and me watching it, we're like, this is a great film. What's your problem? The critics are really weird about it, aren't they?
Well, it's sort of pre-internet discourse. It's like the Lily Allen album. It's like suddenly everyone's got something to talk about. Like, did you like the ending? Is this okay? Are they bitches in a car, or are they feminist heroes, or is the world maybe a bit more subtle and nuanced than that? So there is an enormous amount of discourse about it, but it only helps because people then have to go and see the film, and it makes a shitload of money in its opening weekend, and then it doubles that, which is sort of doesn't normally happen. Normally you peak and then it tails off.
Yeah, I mean, these are some of the reviews are just amazing. So, some guy at the New York Daily News says the movie justifies armed robbery and manslaughter as exercises in consciousness raising. Sorry, it just always really makes me laugh. They're so serious. Americans are so serious, aren't they? The LA Times calls the movie a perversion of the women's movement values. So, women's movement values are just responsibility, equality, sensitivity, and understanding.
That's, sounds like a laugh.
Doesn't it sound fun? In the Times, Margaret Carlson notes the table-pounding discussions similarly mused. This is such a standard question for newspapers. Is this what feminism is all about? And you're like, no, it's a really brilliant film.
It's a really good film. Sometimes, I mean, there's a rich history of directors accidentally making a really great feminist film. Like, I mean, Rosemary's Baby, Roman Polanski. Rosemary's Baby is just one of the greatest, most interesting, fascinating fear of childbirth films ever, and it's made by literally a rapist. So, turns out you can just make good art, and then the discourse sort of changes what it is, and just by again that just you being an ally by like making the best art the art you see in your head, and not second guessing what you're making, and certainly not going like, "You're welcome, ladies," when you make your film. Which, God, there's enough of those "You're welcome, ladies" films out there. Yeah.
Do you think it had any impact though? Do you mean outside, like you and me liking it, women liking it?
I think all of us, which anyone who saw it at an impressionable age has changed for it. But
in inverted commas, Hollywood.
I know what you mean. I mean, the Geena Davis Institute for Gender Studies exists.
That's pretty good.
So Geena Davis.
But that's Geena.
So Geena Davis sort of was transformed by watching Susan Sarandon on set and just asking for things and saying how things are going to be. And the story about her. Geena Davis, Ridley Scott said, when you guys are driving along, you're improving, and you're all singing along to the radio. Maybe because you're so excited and feeling so free, you could just take your top off and wave it. And Susan literally walks, and she goes, sure, maybe we'll talk about it. Susan just walks over to Ridley Scott and goes, she won't be doing that. And Ridley goes up to Susan and goes, thanks a lot, mate. feminists. They're always whipping their top off and waving them around.
Burning.
Yeah, she won't be doing that. Anyway, sorry, I digress. So Geena Davis has studied Susan. They're such good friends. She came off the film and, had to live through all of this and being called a bitch in a car and all that. And so when she had a daughter, she sat down and just looked at the number of male and female characters in things and was sort of aghast at how little had changed, how many female directors there were, how many women in front of and behind the camera and things. And she started the Geena Davis Institute for Gender Studies, which is a fabulous title.
Yeah.
And you can go on there and look at the stats for like how many female characters were in this, how many female heroes were there, and it's just a really cool thing. So in short, no, nothing's changed. I mean, barely anything's changed. The stats on female directors is horribly low.
But also I think what's interesting about this is if you think about the characters, the fact that Susan Sarandon is playing somebody younger than herself, that never happens unless you're in a teen movie. Yeah. But, women always,
let's just Stockard Channing increase.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't really happen. You have to play your age or, slightly older because they'll just cast younger women. Yeah. So the fact that she was an older woman is quite interesting. The fact that the characters have huge arcs and that the men aren't that important. Yeah. And that it's funny as well as terrifically exciting. There are obviously examples, but it's not like it kind of kicked off a genre. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's a bit like when Bridesmaids was massive and it kicked off the genre not of like more female-led comedies, but films about weddings. Like you really missed.
You missed the point.
You kind of missed it. You've seen a poster and you've gone, maybe more comedy should look like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I sounded very negative. There are amazing women making amazing films. I think, you'd look at something like The Substance, which was so mind-blowing, and then you look at the Oscars for that year, which is like the plot of the film was played out where this a film about a 20-year-old sex worker who spends most of it looking gorgeous and naked beats the film about the similarly gorgeous middle-aged woman. And so I think Hollywood has a lot. The gatekeepers are still the gatekeepers, and when we stop having to, I say this as a screenwriter, when we stop having to explain ourselves and explain to Ridley Scott that women don't take their tops off and wave them around when they're excited. I mean, they might sometimes, but when those gatekeepers are us, then we'll start seeing real change. So we're only a few decades-ish away from all that, where the studio heads, the people who actually have the power, the directors have a bit of power, the stars have a bit of power, but it's the studio heads and it's the people who sell things to, globally who have the power. And when those people have died...
then we'll be all right.
In horrible ways.
Yeah, and then, to be honest, you can make your film Tits and Bullets.
I would love to make Tits and Bullets. It's ours. We'll drink these margaritas. We'll be drinking margaritas by the sea, Mamacita.
Here at Talk 90s to Me, something's crossed over in us and we can't go back. But never mind, because we've got a playlist featuring 90s music, which you can find on Spotify. Okay, Sarah, what is a 90s track that you would like to add?
Well, I'm going to put in, because of what we've been talking about today, I'll put in the Ballad of Lucy Jordan by Marianne Faithfull.
Yeah, that's such a good idea. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. We can all just weep along.
It's so weird and synthy. Like, it sounds so 90s. Yeah. And yet it's Marianne Faithfull with her voice. Anyway.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. That was Talk 90s to Me, featuring the fabulous Sarah Morgan, whose great writing can be found on many of your favourite shows. Do you have anything you would like to plug, Sarah?
Well, as I mentioned, I'm screenwriting. I'm working in a horror film at the moment, so that'll be exciting when that happens. In the meantime, I'm making short films of my own and sort of, other stuff. So I'm on SL Morgo on Instagram if you're interested in that stuff.
And you also have your own podcast.
No, I did have my own podcast for a while. No, it was about it was called The Fear. It was about the crossover between horror and comedy. And I really enjoyed doing it, but there aren't anymore. But it's out. It's still floating out there in the world if you like hearing your favourite celebrities and comedians talking about what scares them and horror and all that good stuff.
Yeah, fabulous. Sounds good. Okay, remember it's nearly Christmas. So you might want to buy your John Lewis Dad Raver, a suitable book such as Uncommon People, Britpop and Beyond in 20 songs by me. Subscribe to Talk 90s to Me on your podcast app. Join our Patreon for gorgeous merch and extra episodes on vital topics such as trip hop and Adidas gazelles. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Blue Sky. See you next time.